From deep in the heart of Texas, it's On Second Thought, powered by Hook'em.com. Hosted since 2016 by your favorite sports columnists, Cedric Golden of the Austin American-Statesman and Kirk Bohls of the Houston Chronicle. Let's do it, fellas.
It's On Second Thought. I'm Cedric Golden. He's Kirk Bohls. No one cares who you are, Kirk Bohls, but you're here and we got to respect you. For the first time in a while, I'm actually not the youngest guy on screen, but I can live with that. We do interview a lot of old people, Doug. It's good to get a young guy on here.
It is. New blood. New blood.
New blood. Eric Henry, the 247 Sports Longhorn insider, joins us. Eric, it's a pleasure having you on. Kirk never wanted you on here, but I begged and pleaded. I go, we got to get you on.
You're such a liar. Do you ever get tired of lying? Let me turn sideways so I can see your nose growing, okay?
Ooh, well, I think my nose is big enough, sir. E, what's going on?
How are you?
Oh man, I am great. It is an honor to be on with both of you guys. And as the old football coach Butch Davis that I covered for 5 years down in South Florida would say, I'm on the right side of the grass. So that's what matters.
There you go. There you go.
Man, ain't that the dang truth? Because that dirt just keeps rising up the older we get. You'll know that in about 40 years, E, but you got plenty of time. You've been on this beat for some years now. You've chronicled the rise of the Sarkisian era. This was supposed to be a massive upgraded quarterback, sizable at least. I don't know about massive, but definitely sizable with Arch Manning's immense gifts. And yet here we are, and he is going through the first adversity of his young life. When you look into Arch Manning's eyes, because you've been at every presser that we've been to, what do you see?
Zed and Kirk, you hit the nail on the head. You talk about this being the first real adversity in his life. Was the question I posed to Steve Sarkisian on Monday, right? And I'm going to get to Arch in a second. I'm going to start with Sark. He is obviously reaffirming his confidence in his quarterback, and to an extent, he's lived this, right? And to be fair, it's almost like, guys, unless your name is Bronny James or Shedeur Sanders, you can't truly walk in Arch Manning's shoes, right? The son, or in this case, the nephew of a Hall of Fame type athlete. But Sarkisian took over a BYU team, finished in the top 10 the year prior, had a quarterback drafted in the NFL. And you guys will appreciate this being veteran sports writers. One of the best leads I think I've seen, forgetting the sports writer's name in the Salt Lake Tribune, who said the only person who had a worse day than BYU football and Steve Sarkisian was Saddam Hussein. So clearly, Sark understands what it's like to live, a modicum of that pressure. And I think that's why it's important that he continues to reaffirm his belief in his quarterback. Now, with Arch, to your question, guys, what's been really surprising about this is not the play on the field. I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, we're talking about a quarterback who had 2 starts entering this year. You guys know this. Came against ULM, Mississippi State, not necessarily top tier competition. I don't think anyone expected it to look this bad. But what I think surprises me is I always thought that Arch was fully equipped to handle everything that comes with the spear of being Arch Manning, right? We saw how adept he handled it at the Sugar Bowl 2 years back when it was open availability and that swarm of people, kind of descended upon him. You saw how well he handled it at SEC Media Days. But I do think, and maybe I underestimated this, how do you handle it when you're struggling and you can't turn on, ESPN to watch a baseball game because the cut-in is going to say, the latest update on Arch Manning, right? Like,
That's rough.
I think that's the thing that when I look into his eyes, this first real adversity in his life, I think he's trying to navigate, how do I handle being Arch Manning? And that is just as important as him hitting a 5-yard in route to Ryan Wingo.
Right. And you're talking about Sugar Bowl when he was, entertaining like 1,000 of us. It seemed like Quinn's over there by himself and a cameraman. There was no pressure there. He knew he probably wasn't going to play. Probably wasn't going to get on the field.
He was home.
Even last year, he was at home, and even last year, guys. I mean, he came in. He's the backup. He screws up. Hey, It's not really my fault. I'm not the quarterback. I don't have the keys to this machine. So, and now everything's changed. And there's such a paradox too, because he started 5 games, and Quinn started 36 and didn't play great. The Ohio State game didn't play great. Arizona State game toward the end of those 36 games. And here's a guy who started five, yet he's a junior in class wise. He's 21. So there's a tendency to think, "Ah, he's been here forever because we've covered him forever, but he's played so little." But I think, and we've all talked about this, I think he's trying too hard to be a Manning. Mannings don't fail. Mannings just, they rule the world, and it just hadn't happened yet. But I still think it could. Do you too?
I do. I do. I think it could. I don't know that it will.
Yeah, no
I
guarantees.
think that it will next year. I do. But
We got to
I
wait
don't
till
know.
next year?
Well, no, I'm saying I believe that it will next year. I'm not sure it will this
Yeah,
year. It could happen this year, but I think going through this year will help him because there is such a thing as growing pains. This is not a thing where you just take him out of the cardboard box and then all of a sudden you got an all-American quarterback. Everybody's gone through something. So
sure.
we are all just surprised that he's not as good after 2 years on campus. We thought he'd be further along. Let me ask you this, E. How much pressure is on Sarkisian? You don't want to be known as the guy that couldn't develop a Manning. I mean, that could be almost career suicide because you've got all the ingredients. You've got the mentality, you got the physical, you've got the speed, you got the arm, but what's missing and why haven't you found it yet, Sark?
I do agree with that point. There's kind of this narrative, and personally, I take a little bit of exception when they say, "Well, look at Steve Sarkisian's quarterbacks in the NFL. What did they materialize to be?" Right? And I'm a big believer that the NFL messes up as many quarterbacks as they develop. Right? So that's not on at the feet of Steve Sarkisian. However, to your point, I do think there's a measure of pressure in that some people will say, "Oh, well, he didn't get the most out of Quinn Ewers." I personally believe I think time has shown he got every bit out of Quinn Ewers that was
Speak on
there to
that.
have gotten
Speak.
out of him,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
But in this case, you're talking about someone, and let's kind of backtrack for a second, right? And obviously, I'm wearing the 24/7 Sports hoodie and shirt. 24/7 Sports, 24/7 Sports had Arch Manning as a 1,000 overall prospect, right? That
Mhm.
means this guy's 5 star in 3, 4 years. He'll be in the NFL first round pick. Well, let's just go back and take a look at quarterbacks in his own class. You take a look at the top eight rated quarterbacks in his class. The only one who's still with the same program, guys, Arch Manning. So that goes to show you it is a bit of a crapshoot when you're trying to project that type of talent, right? And he got hit with the generational talent label. I don't know when that happened because we've been around this program since Arch has been here. No one was calling him generational
No,
prior, right? It's like this thing just kind of snowballed as the season got nearer and nearer. And yes, with all that being said, at the end of the day, the narrative more than likely, whether it's fair to Steve Sarkisian or not, that's up for debate. But the narrative more than likely is going to be, well, you were handed a 1,000 overall prospect, right, by the ratings. We're handed a Manning, and if for some reason you cannot get the most out of that, then it's a miss on Steve Sarkisian's part. And I would say some of that may be true, but quarterback projecting quarterback, prospects, it's such a crapshoot, guys. It's to me, it's a combination of a myriad of things. But I don't think it'd be off base if some of that lies at the feet of Steve Sarkisian.
No,
wow.
I totally agree. And there've been busts all over the place in college, in the NFL. I can still remember when Peyton Manning came out of Tennessee, and that whole off season, it was who's better, Ryan Leaf, Peyton Manning, 1 and 1A. It's like they're about the same.
Ron
It,
Leaf could spin that thing, Duck. He could
he
spin that thing.
could. That's what I'm saying. But did he in the NFL? No.
He
He
was
was
crazy. He was nuts.
he was horrible. So a lot of it will and does fall on him, and I would kind of fault him a little bit for some of these play calls, and his, this is the elephant in the room. The second elephant is third down, and especially in the red zone, as we all know. if he could be more creative in that red zone and get some touchdowns, or maybe even, abandon some of those fourth down and kick field goals where you're building up points and maybe that relaxes Arch a little bit. But how bad is this scenario? Play what if with me, you two. He plays bad on Saturday against Sam Houston. What happens then?
Go ahead.
Take that first. That's the break glass in case of emergency scenario for me, right? And here's the reason why. I'm not going to make this the Sam Houston podcast. However, guys, it's not just that it's a group of five opponent. It's not just that it's Sam Houston who came from FCS 2 years ago. It's that this is one of the worst pass defenses in FBS football this year, right? They're basically out of 136 FBS teams, they're 130th or below in nearly every major statistical category in terms of pass defense. So if you can't get 250 plus, 2, 3
Woo.
touchdowns against this defense,
Yeah.
Unleash white
that's
chocolate. Come on. Come on.
and yeah, and if White Chocolate, Parker Livingstone can't get past one of these DBs, that's the break glass in case of emergency scenario for me, guys.
So what happened? What happens if he benches? It's 10-0, 7-0 at halftime, and he comes out and starts Matthew Caldwell the second half. Is there
Not gonna
any
do it.
chance that happens? And if so, what would the meltdown be like?
It's not going to happen. That would crush the kid. 2 weeks before Florida, you don't do that.
But if
If
he
Arch,
plays bad the whole game, said,
if he's got to be DJ Lagway and throw 5 picks against Sam Houston, and they go from 130 to 75 overnight in pass defense, you let him because he's got to go through it. He's got to go through because the only thing worse than that is getting his ass set down. That's the only thing worse for
yeah, but
Matthew
doesn't
Caldwell.
Sark owe it to his team? Say he did throw 5 interceptions and they beat Sam Houston 31-28. It's like, that mean does he lost the team? Do you lose the team if you keep trotting him out there?
No, I don't think you do, but I think what you tell us on Monday is, hey, all positions are open because because if that happens, we're going to go. Are you going to give Matthew Caldwell a look? And then he'll say, well, we're always evaluating, which will mean that yeah, Arch Manning is got to fight for his job. But I'm telling you, that is not Duck. That's not going to happen. I'm glad you asked that question because we like to do that. So, but it's not going to happen. He's going to play better, and they're going to win. I don't know that they're going to cover. Gone are the days of me putting them over 40 points. I ain't doing that. I ain't doing that ish anymore. I'm not doing that anymore.
Well, why would you? Well, what do you think?
What
You
did you
think
have? You
under
had 50. Didn't you have 52-7 or
no,
something like that? What'd you have last week?
I had like 42-10. I didn't have him covering.
Yeah, I had 45-10. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
Could you see him benching him if it was
No,
just really bad?
no, because here's why, right? I'll give you two scenarios. If they win 31-0, all Steve has to do is come in and say, well, got another win. It's hard to win a college football game. We've heard him say it a million times, right? Now, the scenario that you laid out is the one that I think is even easier on Steve Sarkisian. Win 31-28, and this Texas defense that's supposed to be top 2 or 3 in the nation allows 28 points to Sam Houston. Steve can walk in on Monday and say, all positions are open. And it's not just an Arch thing. He can say, everything is up for debate.
Well, if it's 31-28, I mean, you can't assume that the defense gave up 28. It could be
Could
a
be
couple
pick
of pick
sixes.
sixes.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, so we ain't gonna put that on the D entirely. So that's he hasn't done that yet. He hasn't thrown a pick six. So I'm glass half full. He hasn't thrown a pick six yet. So, as long as he
No.
hasn't thrown a pick six, he'll be okay. What do you think about the backfield? Is this time for panic or I mean, me personally, I think that Sark's playing a long game with Quintravian Wisner. We know CJ's not going to play this week, and CJ might show back up for Florida. You got time, but do you think that this Quintravian Wisner thing is fine, or is it more serious than Sark's letting on?
I don't think it's more serious. I'll give you a name that I'm curious if that is more serious, and that's Emmett Mosley. because he had that injury coming out of high school, and that's what kept him out of Stanford his first few weeks. But getting back to Trey Wisner, no, I don't see that to be something that could linger. And I'll give you something. This is kind of my perspective on Trey, right? This may surprise you. Everyone thinks about last year, Jaden Blue being that home run hit, that home run threat, right? If you look at the numbers, it was from Travion Wisner who was the more explosive back. Per attempt, Trey Wisner was getting a 15-yard carry or more every 7.1 touches.
Nice.
Jaden Blue, 9.7. Now, of course, no one's going to compare the speed, right? Jaden, when he gets that gap, he's gone. But in terms of just breaking big plays, that was Trey Wisner. So I do think, yeah, you got plenty of talent you've recruited. You have James Simon. Let's put CJ aside for a second. Obviously, he's injured, but you have James Simon. You have Jarrett Gibson. And guys, Christian Clark.
He's
I
nice.
know he's still a work in progress, but he's got a little wiggle. He's got hands out of the backfield. He unfortunately was Texas's leading receiver last week with 32 yards, but
Woo.
he's got good hands. So you have enough backs to get through Sam Houston. Now you get the bye week. Florida and Oklahoma, whatever you want to say about the Gators, defense is not their issue, right? It's offense. And OU obviously is playing better on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I think you get Trey Wisner rested up for that stretch in SEC play.
Yeah, I don't think running back's a problem at all. Wide receiver again, other than Parker Livingstone, and some jack injuries, we just haven't seen elite games out of these receivers. I think Ryan Wingo so far has looked like just a guy. He doesn't look special.
No
Now,
comment.
Arch isn't, Mr. No Comment. Uh, he's not helping him. Well, Arch isn't helping him, but we've seen receivers in college football make impossible catches. Like, how did he do that? And Wingo hadn't done that, which maybe he has to the way Arch is throwing. But and then Demo's on the sideline. You mentioned Emmett Mosley. Sark said he's a little bit closer, but and I wonder they're not getting the separation I don't see from other receivers in college football. How would you address the receiver room at this point?
Yeah, fellas, did something go wrong in St. Louis? Because we heard about that trip being, the bonding thing between Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo. Now I'm
Never
wondering,
should have gone to St. Louis.
now I'm wondering, did something go awry? Should Parker Livingstone should he have gone to Lucas
Should have went.
Lovejoy,
I bet
right?
maybe he went to Lovejoy one time too many. Maybe that happened.
Or he stayed
That-
away from Lovejoy. That's it.
That's what I'm wondering, guys. But no, in all seriousness, you look at Wingo, he missed a large chunk of spring, right? The LASIK
Yeah.
surgery and what he was going through there. And then, of course, had the issue that kept him out for a little bit of fall. It's clear the chemistry is not there between Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo, right? Now you flip to the other side, his roommate, his buddy, and Parker Livingstone. Those guys, he looks like, hey, anytime the play's broken down, I know where to go, right? I'm going to Parker Livingstone. So that's what I'd say about those two. As I alluded to earlier, if Emmett Mosley can't be back by Florida,
Yeah.
then I'm starting to get concerned. Because remember, this is a leg injury that he had in high school that kept him out his first few weeks at Stanford, then end up, emerging in the starting lineup. But that wasn't a great Stanford team. If it lingers, then you got to wonder, man, okay, is this something that is chronic, right? But clearly, I think we all were there. We heard the way Steve Sarkisian talked about Emmett Mosley. I think a measure of what they wanted to do offensively was based around having him opposite of Ryan Wingo, right? And Demo,
Yeah.
and Demo, it's the same thing. A really talented guy out of California, but he was still finding his footing last year. He made some plays, but also had some drops, trying to develop that consistency. The only thing you really have is you got Parker Livingstone and Jack injuries. And maybe that's enough to get you through Florida, considering their struggles. But come ready for a shootout. They're going to need more weapons from the pass catching unit. Does Dayton McCutcheon, Dalen McCutcheon step up? Is it Ryan Niblett? Guys, Ryan Niblett showed a lot of,
He's not.
spurts.
He's off to a nice start.
He is. He's
That's a-
confident too. He's
Yeah.
confident.
Do you find ways to get him touches, right? So that's kind of the overall assessment of the pass catchers. But I say it jokingly, but you got to wonder, did something go awry in St. Louis? Because their chemistry, whether it's that or just
Yeah.
sheer lack of time together, it's palpable.
It is palpable. Before we get out of here, a couple more. Where the hell's Colin Simmons? Where's Colin Simmons?
Maybe he's doing
No
NIL
penalties, no
commercials.
penalties this week, but where is he?
That
And
ain't
how
the
much
standard.
money? And how much money is he costing himself right now?
Guys, this is a learning experience for Colin because he's got more penalties for than he does sacks, half a sack, right?
That's nuts.
And he came out prior to the year, and you love the confidence, right? Even regardless if you're sports writers like us, you love the confidence come out to say, "Why'd you switch to number one? Because I'm the one." You love that confidence,
You
but
do.
he's
And
he's
then
clearly
talking about Kiki
talking
Diallo,
about
22
breaking the
and a
sack.
half sacks. You're
But
still 22 off.
fellas, the only player who may be pressing just as much as Arch Manning is Colin Simmons. It's
Absolutely.
clear. It's clear.
Yeah.
Clear.
And,
Clear.
and that's the last thing I'll say is this, right? When a guy of his talent isn't literally falling into sacks against UTEP and San Jose State, it's
Hmm.
clear that he's not playing within the scheme of the defense. I'm not a big coach speak guy. I don't think any of us are, but that one is so clear in front of us that he's just trying to do too much.
I think that's right. And probably maybe the biggest and most pleasant surprise has been that defensive line interior with the five transfers that come in. And I think they've stood up pretty well, don't y'all?
I like Shaw. I like Shaw a lot.
I like Canoe.
I like Hero, who just turned 21. They've got some. And you know what? You got to give PK and Sark credit for that. And they have field. They are producing NFL linemen, and then they're replacing them with guys that end up going
Mhm.
to the league. So that's not a problem at all. And I am very impressed with that. But it it's going to be an offensive story. How they play will be offensive. If they're playing OU tomorrow, I'm telling you right now, pick OU, and I'm not even going to blink by saying it. I'm picking OU without even thinking
I don't think
because I,
anybody would pick
because I
Texas.
go with the better quarterback in a game of that magnitude, and they just got to get more from Arch.
Well, we were on the Zoom call with Phil Longo, the Sam Houston coach yesterday, and he was addressing that defensive line, wasn't he? And was he? Remember, he was saying they got one real difference maker. You think he was referring to Hero, Eric?
No, I thought I heard him say, Kirk, and I could be wrong. I thought I
Yeah.
heard him say that they have one real difference maker, and that one is a difference maker, referring to Colin Simmons. I may
Okay,
have
it was
I may have
unclear.
misheard that, but I'll
Yeah.
piggyback off of said what you said in Kirk as well. Kenny Baker also deserves a lot of credit, right? Because I remember
Yes,
the panic. I don't know how it was for you guys, but over on our message boards when Bo Davis left, it was, oh man, we're losing Bo, we're losing the guy who spearheaded this, and then when they hired Kenny Baker, it was like, who? you know, I was probably one of the few people, I'll toot my own horn. Hopefully, guys don't mind. One of the few people in this market who was familiar with Kenny Baker, having covered Conference USA prior at Western Kentucky. So give him some credit. But no, yeah, I thought Kirk, he was talking about Colin Simmons, but
Yeah.
Cole
Yeah.
Brevard as well. I mean, he just is a big, massive presence at nose and is playing different spots, lining up in different gaps. So that interior defensive line, I mean, it's phenomenal.
They move people around. You see Ethan Burke there at defensive
Yeah.
tackle inside, so they do a great job of moving people around and I think confusing offenses for sure. Well, the one big question I'd have for both you guys is, do we need to readjust our expectations of this Texas team, or is this just too soon, or are they not an SEC contender? What do you
I'm so
think,
tired.
guys?
I'm so tired of you reading my mind because that's the exact because I had 11-1, and there's no way in hell this team's gonna go 11-1. They're just not.
I don't see
They
it either.
just not. And I'm not one of those guys that wants to jump around and go, oh, you're gonna be 10-2. No, oh, you're gonna be 9-3. Oh, you're gonna be 8-4. I just know they're not gonna be 11-1
How about
because
you?
it's just too much on this defense. They're gonna run into an offense
All right.
that's gonna score 24 points and beat them. And that's sad because you just gotta have more on your offense. So they feel to me right now like a 9-3.
I can say this right now. I think just the amount of pieces they had to try to replace this offseason on offense, the cohesion isn't there. When times are tough, the ability for one guy to kind of just step up and make a play. Remember, when they added transfers, it was, a receiver here, a receiver there. The rest of the offense was a cohesive unit. I don't see them microwaving that chemistry over the next 5, 6, 7 weeks to take off. I had them at 10-2, said in Kirk. If I had to, make another pick right now, I'd lean towards 8-4.
Oh
I
wow.
thought this was a team that would play for a national title, quite frankly. And maybe now we're looking at, you know, heading to my home state of Florida to the Citrus Bowl or the Outback Bowl. Who knows? But
Do
yeah,
we
I
get
don't
free
see this as
steak?
a team.
Do we get
What
free
was that,
steak
Kirk?
at the out? Do we get free steak if we go to the Outback Bowl? E, have you ever covered it?
Fellas, I've never covered. No, I've never covered the Outback. I covered the Gasparilla Bowl, never the Outback Bowl. But listen, I'll get you guys a better steak than Outback Steakhouse. Hopefully, Outback is not a sponsor of this show, and I didn't just
Oh,
bury them. If we're in Tampa, I'll get you a better steak.
Sponsor. What's that? What's a sponsor?
I'm with either. I mean, and said you. I know you said 9-3, but they don't even look like a 9-3 team right now. And it can change. We know it can change. They can, roll against Sam and box Florida's ears and win impressively. But Florida's not one of the top half of the SEC teams right now either. So, but I don't know. It's just kind of the feel, the eye test. You come away thinking, boy, this isn't the team I expected to see this year, and it's too much to just put it on one guy, but so much involves the quarterback, as you guys know, touches the ball every time, and his fundamentals, footwork kind of seem out of whack too. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. They're going to go into the SEC play as a question mark, and I think expectations probably for most people, has probably gone south a little bit.
Will we hear booze this weekend?
If it's 31-28, it will be.
It won't be 31-28.
If
What do
it's
you think,
anything
E?
less than shutout, we'll hear boos, and it won't be
Yeah.
questionable as to how many people were booing this week.
It's gonna be everybody. It's gonna be everybody. It's gonna
Yeah,
be
they need a
everybody.
shutout. They need a shutout. Arch needs to look good. I don't know what the numbers are, but we all got to be going to that press conference thing. Well, he looked good. It was Sam Houston, but he at least looked good. We haven't been able to say that after 3 games.
We haven't, but we're gonna be there eating tacos and cursing the 7 p.m. kickoff. We're spoiled, guys. We've been getting them good daytime games, big noon Sundays. We are back in prime time, and no one's going to be watching this on television.
Nobody.
It's going to be on SEC Plus, and I don't even know what that is. I have no idea what SEC Plus is. Not a lot of pluses in this one. 7 o'clock kickoff on SEC Plus, Texas, Sam Houston. Eric Henry, follow him on X, Eric C. Henry underscore, and check him out on 24/7 Sports, where he's got the knowledge. E, we appreciate it so much, man, and we will see you at the game.
Oh man, my honor being on with you guys. Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you Saturday.
Thanks, friend.